Ladies and gentlemen, let's continue our speakers forum sessions. On stage, we have Elena Maximova, radio host, business development and communication specialist, and real estate expert, who will bring us an exclusive interview with Yiannis Misirlis, chairman of the Cyprus Land and Building Developer Association. In these sessions, 4+1, trends you should know before you make a move. Elena and Yiannis, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to say that I'm very happy to be on the same stage with the professionals of the industry. And I am even more excited to introduce to you Mr. Yiannis Misirlis, who is the founder and chairman of IMPERIO and chairman of Cyprus Property Developers Association. And today we are going to talk about 4+1 trends you should know before you make a move in Cyprus with regards to real estate, and of course, in particular, in Limassol. So, Yiannis, what?
Hi, Kalimera. Yes, thank you very much, and happy to share the stage with you. And yeah, we can kick it off.
Okay, so since we are talking about trends, what do you think are the major trends right now, in your opinion?
Okay, major trends are mostly focused on the Limassol market, but more or less it's the same trend repeating to some extent in all cities. You've heard a lot from the previous discussion about the current market being very dynamic. You can see it only by the attendance in this event. It's a very dynamic market. The demand remains quite strong year after year. Very specific demand in a certain sector of the market, but it remains quite strong. And the biggest focus of the professionals in this market is the ongoing imbalance between supply and demand. It's now, I think, the 6th year in a row that supply is lower than demand. This creates all sorts of issues.
Can you cover a little bit the reasons why you think it is?
Yeah, I think it started a few years ago when the supply comes from property developers. So the markets for developers suffered because one market had one issue, the other market had another issue. Things became more complicated during COVID. Supply chain issues, you order materials, you order machinery from overseas, it's more expensive, it takes time. So all of these factors, and if you add to this the high interest rates for project financing for real estate developers, all of these factors create to some extent, fear of entering to new projects, uncertainty for many developers. So supply had a big drop in the past 6, 7, 8 years. It never managed to recover. On the other hand, demand was year by year increasing. Even events that originally we thought were going to dump the demand, they didn't. We saw every year, every event that was happening, we were seeing a peak in demand. So this is what created the imbalance. But I think the most important thing about this phenomenon is not why it's happening. That we should solve also is the side effects of this imbalance. And this is what the market is suffering from right now.
But don't you think now there is a little bit less demand and a little bit more supply? And the demand is a little bit connected with the flow of Russian-speaking customers going back to their countries because there are problems with the banks and with the immigration not so easy.
So if I understand the question, is there is less demand because Russians cannot buy in Cyprus anymore?
Let's say Russian-speaking countries.
Yeah, I mean, okay, if we see numbers, because always we can get the best answers from the numbers. Limassol, for example, is consistently selling every year between 3,000 to 3,500 properties. It doesn't matter if we have Russians 2 years ago, it doesn't matter if we don't have Russians today. The size of the market is growing at the rate of about 10% every year. Mm-hmm. So what does this say? Yes, maybe we don't have so many Russians today, but the market has found other sources to do the same sales.
So the market is self-sustainable. This year it maybe found people from Israel.
Yes, but
substituting the Russian people.
Correct, but let's not forget the local market. And when I say local, it's you and me, Cypriots and non-Cypriots who live in this country and work in this country. This is it's the biggest part of the market. If you see the numbers, it's over 60%. So any fluctuation of foreign markets can create at some point the demand being minimized for some reason or being decreased to a certain extent, but the markets, the professional on the market, they manage to recover every year because overall the market is expanding. Now the natural question is why the market doesn't grow by 30%, by 40%. Why don't we sell 5,000 properties in Cyprus, 10,000 in Limassol? Why don't we sell 10,000 properties every year? Because we don't have the capability for output. We cannot produce so many properties. If we're talking about bottles of water, you just press the button in the factory, you double your output in, I don't know, 1 year. In real estate, we cannot do it.
Mm-hmm. And how would you comment, for example, because for the people it's not always interesting to hear official information, but the rumors as well. How would you comment the rumor that the eyes of the investors are now turning from Limassol to Larnaca? Because Larnaca is growing fast and the prices are lower, so it's more interesting to invest there.
Okay, then we need to understand the profile of this investor. So if I was an investor, I would like to invest somewhere where there is a healthy market. If I buy a property at an early stage, because that's how I assume an investor is behaving, if I get really early into a project, I want to see two things. Capital appreciation of my property by the time it's ready for delivery. And then I want to see exit. My exit is either to sell it when it's ready to somebody who can use it, or if I cannot sell it because the market is behaving a little bit strange at that time, I want to be able to rent it. So with these criteria in mind, where would you invest?
I'm just thinking, listening to what you say, that from my experience, since I'm part of Cyprus Sotheby's International Realty, the clients have two different approaches. Some clients really like to buy on off-stage, but other clients, and many Israelis are among them, they say that I don't want to lose these 2 years while this building is being built. I want to buy right now something which is ready, and I want to start renting it out from tomorrow.
Okay, but ready and available, I think it doesn't exist anywhere.
Resale.
Okay, resales, you have resales everywhere.
There is now a lot of resale on the market because people are getting rid of...
But you're saying that there is more resale on the market in Larnaca than in Limassol?
No. Saying in general.
Resales should also be an attractive investment proposition. They should also be attractive. Because if resales are not attractive, then nobody would buy new buildings. At some point, the new building will become a resale. So we need a very healthy resale market. Mm-hmm. So I'm not against that. No, I'm totally for it. But comparing the two destinations that you mentioned before, I don't want to say anything, bad about the market. But if you take a very holistic view of the market, I would like to have a very strong local market, a very strong rental market, and good product to be able to invest. So
and with this
in mind, I would definitely still invest in Limassol. Okay, higher prices, that means higher ticket price, so the amount of your investment will have to be bigger. But it's the same argument if you compare, I don't know, Limassol and another city in Europe, yes. Barcelona. Okay, properties are more expensive. Maybe the market fundamentals are still good. It doesn't change the proposition. But going back to the imbalance, the biggest problem of the balance is the fact that we don't have enough supply out there is rent.
Yes, let's move to the next question. What do you think happens to the rents now?
Okay, that's a problem. We've been trying to solve this problem for many years now because having high rents, it might sound attractive for investors who buy now, but looking at the market, it creates structural issues. It's unfair for tenants. And it's not only for 1 year, it's for 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
And we've seen last 1.5 years the high rise of the rents because of the situation in Russia and Ukraine, situation in Israel. We saw the prices went almost double, and now I would say they are stabilizing a bit, but
Yes.
still they're high.
You're probably right. There's some kind of stabilization of rents right now, but again, the problem is that the rent values have stabilized at a very high level, which is not normal for this city. And there is only one solution. It's a difficult solution, but again, we need to produce more properties.
But again, depending with what you compare, if you compare with the years when there were not so many IT companies here as now, probably we can't compare.
Yes, well, I think you should not compare with the past or with the future. You should compare with tenants' affordability. If you look at how salaries behaved, okay, they increased, but they didn't double in the last 2 years. So if we don't want to create a structural issue where at some point rents will be so high and prices will be so high, nobody will be able to afford it, so we need to have a crash to reset the market, then we need to start solving these structural issues. And the only way to solve it, and this is why we've been liaising with several departments of the government for a couple of years now, and they issued this housing policy about 9 months ago. Everything is in an attempt to solve this imbalance. So the more supply we have, lower rents also will be reflected on the market. Imagine that instead of 3,000 or 3,500 units in Limassol, we could get out on the market 6,000 units for 3-4 years consecutively. What will happen to rents?
Absolutely.
It's supply and demand. If you have a few properties to choose from, it's much better than having only one. You don't have a choice. You have to get that one, even if it's at a higher price.
And if we move on to a different topic, and could you describe to me how you see a portrait of the people who are now major buyers of IMPERIO?
Okay, so I mean, first of all, we need to clarify which market segment we currently focus. So now it's mostly in what we call the business class market. So it's in the mass market. Anything between 200,000, maybe 250, up to 600,000. So that's the market that we focus on. So the potential buyer is definitely, I would say, professionals who live in the city.
Yeah.
So that's the major part of the market.
And let's imagine now that the tension in Russia and Ukraine finished, and the situation would go to a certain end, happy end, whatever end, and how would it influence the situation, you think, overnight?
Well, Elena, this is probably the biggest single event that every professional on this market should try to understand and try to, I don't know, imagine its effects on the market. Because we are all talking about how Russians left, but nobody's asking what will happen when Russians decide to come back. Because we have a strong connection with Russia, cultural connection, for few decades now. Something happened and sanctions were imposed, and these people cannot visit this place anymore.
They are very upset, but I know that they are all happy to come back.
Absolutely. With all the clients of, at least of IMPERIO that we speak to, everyone wants to come back. And they're all saying, okay, one day the war will be over, general sanctions will be lifted, so we'll come back to this country because we love it. So that's what we need to understand. What will happen then? I mean, in my view, another spike in demand.
Will be another very interesting situation in Cyprus,
Yes.
which is always, I'm 18 years in Cyprus, and something always happens which hasn't happened before, and which is very, very interesting for the market, and always opens new opportunities.
I absolutely agree. You have three kind of potential, let's say, buyers or investors who will want to come to this country from Russia. First of all, you have the ones who used to buy holiday homes and they cannot buy holiday homes anymore. And
a lot of houses, expensive houses, like 1.5, 2 million houses, are now on the market, and there's nobody to buy them. I mean, resale houses, which Russian-speaking people bought before. Now they can't use them, or their accounts are closed, or they can't open accounts, so they have to get rid of them. For example, go and put their assets in Dubai or some other places, or go back to Russia. I see that also as a trend.
Yeah, it could be right. Of course, not everyone is buying a 1 million home. You have Russians who used to buy much cheaper apartments, and they use them as holiday homes. But you have the ones who are buying holiday homes. You have the ones who want to migrate to this country for work because their friends did it, and they're very happy to do it as well. And then you have the ones who buy for investment, and the current market fundamentals shout that this is a nice place to buy for investment because the yield is good. If they don't manage to sell the property at the profit, they can rent it. So the fundamentals are quite strong. So I do believe that, yes, we'll have another spike when finally this crazy war is over.
Okay, this is
if the sanctions are lifted. Because if they're not lifted, then we didn't do anything.
Okay, so let's go from this topic to a more happy and positive topic of the green housing. How do you see the green future of Cyprus, maybe from the point of view of IMPERIO or from a general point of view? Green housing, green offices?
Well, green housing is coming into our lives either we realize it or even if we don't realize it, it's becoming a major part of this industry. Of course, more incentives will have to be given from the authorities so that we can clearly define what is green housing, what are green buildings. But the professionals of this industry are slowly, okay, some of them a little bit faster, but they do it.
In a few words?
I'll tell you what we did. First of all, in terms of offices, we created the first net zero building on the island. So net zero, it means that all the energy it consumes is produced by the building itself.
So it's completely self-sustainable.
It is. There are a few days in the year that it's very cloudy or the day is very small in November, etc., that we still pull electricity from the authority. But overall, this is defined as a net zero building. In residential communities, we have production of electricity from renewable sources. So we supply, for example, at Sunset Gardens, which is just in this neighborhood, we supply all the communal areas, all communal spaces. We have 3 swimming pools, tennis courts, cafe. All of these areas are supplied with electricity produced by renewable energy sources.
By the way, from my experience, this is what is now very much in demand by the people, young families and professionals that come to work on the island. These kind of communities, closed communities with everything inside.
But we didn't do it because we like to do it. You never do something because the developer likes to do it. The developer does it because the market demands it.
Yeah, but not every developer is doing it.
Okay, maybe not every developer's product is reflecting the demand on the market, yes. But you don't do something because you just like it. If you do it because you think it's nice and it's cool, probably you will never sell it. It has to be reflected into, the sophisticated demands of the market. So apart from renewable energy sources, which is now most of the developments on the market, at least sizable developments, because if you do a very small developer, it could be difficult. We also recycle all sewage of the development, and we use that for
so this is our
last
question, the plans of IMPERIO.
Yeah, we use that for watering. We have 40,000 trees and plants at Sunset. So it's a very green by plants. I mean, very green development, and we also water it through recycle.
I believe also green offices are in demand.
Yes, of course. They're in demand, and now there is certain rating also on the loans of companies that are applying for in order to buy offices, that the rating becomes much better if the product they're buying is green. But still, I mentioned before incentives. This is one big incentive that this government or probably the commercial banks have to give: green finance. They didn't expand on this. a lot. In foreign countries, we can see that people who are buying greenhouses, they get a very significant discount on their mortgage rate. So when we reach that level of understanding what is the future of real estate, then the banks will also know exactly what to do. In terms of our plans, okay, as I mentioned, we completed this month a very big development next to this resort. 340 apartments, gated community. The response of the market.
Second stage, you mean, yes?
The full phase, yes. The response of the market these past 2 years was beyond our ambitions. It was really amazing to see how the market was responding to the product which we designed and which we really understood what the market needed. And we're proceeding in announcing a couple of new projects, probably either in this month, in the summer, or probably in September. A lot of residential still, and some
so I
other
think they're going to
probably office.
They're going to be green, and they're going to be
definitely
reflecting the demand and being also complexes of facilities. Yes?
There will be complexes, probably mixed use, definitely green. I think there is no way back from once you go green. And definitely in that specific pricing level where the market can afford it. And you can rent it, and it makes sense for investors also to buy it.
Perfect. Good luck with that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anybody has any questions? The lady there. They are bringing the microphone now.
Mr. Maros, as
Yiannis. No, please go ahead.
Mr. Yiannis Misirlis.
Yiannis, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm in this business nearly 40 years in Cyprus. And now I represent the Danos Group. And just I have a question, because I know your company very well. And exactly in your company, what is the main nationalities by your buyers now? Approximately, plus minus.
I know for sure that the main group is local residents.
In your company?
Yes.
Okay. Because this local market now is a little difficult for us now to buy something. I mean, local market, because I'm also like local. And
well, I'll give you this number.
Because I know your prices very well, and also your quality and everything. I respect your company very well. But the prices is also the most of all is local market?
Yes. I'll give you a statistic so you can understand. At Sunset, out of 340 apartments, about 65% was through mortgages from local banks.
Wow. But did you help with banks?
Sorry, did we have good banks?
Did you help them with banks?
Did you help them?
With loans?
But how can we help them?
Because
securing a mortgage.
Problems now with banks.
Securing a mortgage from a bank, it's not our business; it's the buyer's
business.
But
you introduce yourself like you secure.
Of course, we provide securities that the bank asks. Yes, we mortgage the land, etc. But normal practice, nothing.
No, it's now no. Usually now, a lot of companies stop this practice. That's why I'm asking you, because I know your company. Thank you very much.
Thank you for a very interesting interview, Yiannis. Obviously, Imperio is a big success story. But everybody's concentrating so much on Limassol. Here is the success story, here is the big boom. You're also chairman of an association. Now, what does that association do to promote, to support the developing of other areas of Cyprus. I mean, Cyprus is not about only Limassol. Limassol is a port, let's not forget that. And there are other very beautiful areas which deserve as much attention as this place here. So what do you do to support, to help, to facilitate the development of other projects in other areas?
Thank you. Well, the association is not about Limassol. This interview was about Limassol, but not the association. The association is national.
Well, thank God.
So we have members from all over the places. So yes, we provide support to the members. We liaise with authorities to solve issues of the market that are nationwide issues. We're not focused on Limassol at all.
Can you be more specific, please?
Of what we do at the association?
Yes, how you facilitate, how you support.
Oh, we support property developers, and we support by liaising with authorities to solve issues of the market and to maintain. So we're able to maintain a very robust real estate market. Okay, I cannot go into detail of what exactly we do, but there is, in the policies, we have serious contributions every time, in every policy. Even if this is called a housing policy, that this document which came out 9 months ago and it needs serious improvements, or I don't know, even if we are, the VAT law changed a year ago, so we were in continuous discussions with the authorities, and I think we got the best results we could under the circumstances. Even if I go back, you have migration issues that are affecting this market, you have planning issues. Cutting the red tape is one of our major issues that we are discussing for many, many years now. Yeah. Serious improvements in that. Okay, we're not Switzerland yet. I don't know if we will ever become, but we're doing serious improvements. I was talking to somebody downstairs this morning. He applied for a single permit for a single home. He got the license in 28 days. So
that's an exception. That's not the rule.
No, it's not an exception, actually. It's the rule for single homes within the city.
That's a big improvement.
That are correctly designed. Okay, so you have a few parameters that you need to take into account. But
you
if you're a property
said
development, you can...
Yeah, you mentioned that we need to put more properties on the market.
Definitely.
Right? This is what you said. So the role of your association to facilitate this process is extremely important. And liaising with the authorities is a crucial moment here. You know, if we don't get the right attention and the right support from the authorities, we're lost. And especially if we're foreigners and we want to invest and do some business here, your role is extremely important. So that's why we would love to expect more involvement and support from you.
I think the national housing policy, which came out in October last year, is going through some improvements right now. At some point, it will be a sufficient incentive for many to invest into more developments. Of course, there are criteria. It's not a policy for everyone. You need to have certain land size. You need to do you need to lock your properties for a certain period. But it will give an incentive for more production, for more supply. And that was one of our major themes last year, that we need to solve this, because if we don't fix the supply issue, we limit the development of this country. And I will go back to an example from Limassol, because simply it's the biggest market. If newcomers to this city have nowhere to stay, they will simply not come. So how can we compete with other international destinations if we cannot solve the real estate issue? It doesn't matter if we have good companies. The companies are excellent. They can give excellent salaries. But if you don't have a home to stay, then what are you going to do? If you don't have a school to register your children, if hospitals are full and you cannot take enough medical services, what happens? So we have these issues to solve. Not all of them are under our association's agenda, but yes, we're liaising to be able to create better conditions for the market.
Do we have time for more? Okay, we don't have time. Or one short question, yes.
Hello, I mentioned also yesterday, I think your association has to really push the Parliament to vote the new law on immovable property, which has been sitting there for 2 years, because the current law is very old. It has a lot of provisions which are not applicable anymore, especially to complexes. And I think this will help investors to come and invest in Cyprus. I mean, for example, in Dubai, where they had a lot of issues in the last few years, now the regulatory framework is very strict. Money is paid on an escrow account, so there's protection for the investor and everything. So I think your association should really push for this law to pass very soon. Thank you.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. And the minutes of the Parliament committees meetings are public, so you can see our position in every meeting that we're encouraging them to vote it. You're from this country, you know that things take time, but we need to get our expectations right. We compare this market to Dubai. The biggest advantage they have in Dubai is that 90% of the market that the developers have comes from companies that are state-owned. So the shareholders of these companies is the state itself, is the government or whatever you call it. So every policy they change, they implement in one day. They don't have to go to the parliament to get an IMAR. Is the biggest developer in Dubai. If there is a policy change, it's implemented by the press of a button. They don't have to go to parliament, ongoing discussions, discussions with professional associations for 1 year, 2 years, until everyone agrees that this is a nice policy for this country. No. So I think it's an unfair comparison. It's good to understand what happens in other places. Maybe we can do something similar, but again, we should not expect miracles.
But overall, I think everything is positive in Cyprus.
It cannot be everything cannot be positive.
Not
Always
everything.
we'll have discussions about how to improve things.
But the sun is shining, the IT companies are doing their business, the developers are building a lot of residential and commercial properties. So I think we are on a good track.
Okay, I mean, if you want to put it rosy, then yeah, people have jobs, developers are building, agents are selling, people are buying apartments, they make barbecues in the evening, the weather is nice. Yes, but every time, every
Life
day,
is
we'll
going
have
on.
issues to solve. I mean, we should get this out of our mind that one day we'll wake up and we say, okay, everything is perfect, let's just go to the beach.
It's never like that,
No.
also in life.
And it's nowhere like that, not even in other destinations. I mentioned Switzerland before. You can try to do a development in Zurich to see what problems you will have. Even in Dubai, we have local developers who went to Dubai to develop, and they encountered so many issues that they left. Okay, if you're somebody powerful like Imar and you are the government, then maybe it's a different story, but yeah, I don't know.
And you mentioned before that it's very difficult, for example, for people that come to find rental housing, but the situation in other European central cities is even worse. It's very difficult to find something to rent, and there are lines of tenants thinking if they qualify for a landlord to rent at least some apartment to live.
Yeah.
So in Cyprus, it's much more easy with this.
And it will get better. Again, I mean, I repeat myself, but the more supply we put on the market, the rents will drop. So it will get better. There's no other way to go. If we don't solve this one, then next year we'll be having different discussions.
Okay, till next year then.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too.